You're going to be pushing in through all the fog, and as the fog disappears, it almost looks like it's revealing the object. This might be a cool thing for if you're shooting miniatures or so and you just want it to look like just something eerie, almost kind of like magical. If you want to take away anything about this in terms of filming with miniatures, it's three things. Shoot wide, close down the aperture, and shoot in slow motion. All those things work together to make an object look big. So basically what I'm going to be going over is how to create a really cool looking setup for things like product shots or working with miniatures and fog. If you follow along, there's hopefully a couple of different things that you can use throughout your filmmaking career. What you're gonna need is an object that you're gonna wanna film, 3 lights, one of those should be dimmable, fog or a way to create fog, as that's the main effect that makes this look really cool. You're probably gonna want a slider or some other form of stabilization to make sure that your movements are really nice and smooth. I didn't use a slider for mine. I just handheld the GH5. It's got killer in-body image stabilization, and I absolutely trust it. So the first thing I recommend you do is set up your scene. I took a white circle diffuser and put that down so that I'd have a nice white surface, and I put my tank on top of that and just kind of posed it. I went ahead and grabbed some boxes and I set those around the set, kind of out of frame, and that way when the fog would shoot out from behind, it would kind of bounce off those boxes a little bit and I'd get just a little bit more time. You can either use a fog machine, which I did for 3 of the shots I'm gonna go over, or you can use this stuff called atmospheric aerosol, which I used for the actual final shot, the shot that I used for the logo. So if you're using really hot lights, I'd say just be careful. I'm not sure that it would explode or anything, but it does say extremely flammable and it does say danger. So my fog fluid does not say that. Since we're gonna be working with fog, we really want that fog to show up. If you just shoot light at fog, it does not show up nearly as well as if you shoot light through fog. So what we're gonna do is we're going to set up a 3-point light system, except because I wanna be really dramatic, I'm going to take my backlight and I'm gonna put it directly behind the object. So it should go backlight, the object that you're filming, and then your camera lens. It's going to diffuse up through all the fog and it's going to create this really cool halo kind of rim effect. Then I go ahead and use one light at a 45-degree angle for my camera, and that's going to be my key light, and then I'm going to use the CN160 to fill in some of those shadows so I'm not losing those. So once again, here's the shot before, backlight, key light, fill. And there you go. Then we just throw that fog in and it looks something like that. And that's really cool looking. When you're working with miniatures, the idea is you want to make them look really big. And so to do that, you want to shoot with a really wide angle lens and a really closed down aperture. And what that's going to do is that wide angle lens gives you the perspective as if you, the viewer, are a lot smaller or the object that you're looking at is a lot bigger. And then with that closed down aperture, all of the object is going to be in focus. And so the lens that I'm using is this, I think it's pronounced Laowa. It is a 7.5 millimeter. If you're using like a full frame lens, you're gonna want something like 16 millimeter or so. For me, this ends up looking like a 15 millimeter lens. This is full manual, so I get to just dial that over to an f-stop of 16 manually, and that'll keep everything nice and focused. So I'm filming at 60 frames per second. And I know I'm going to interpret that back to 24 when I'm editing. So when you're filming in 60 frames per second, not only does it make the fog look bigger as well, because of that nice slow movement, but also it makes all of your movements a lot smoother. If you want to take away anything about this in terms of filming with miniatures, it's 3 things. Shoot wide, close down the aperture, and shoot in slow motion. All those things work together to make an object look really big. So the first shot I'm gonna call Angel Glow, because that's what it makes me think about. Basically all you do is you let the fog out and then you just wait for most of it to kind of go away until you just have these small little haze right behind the object, and it makes this kind of angel-like kind of magical glow. And then I got my shot and it came out looking like this, and I really liked the way that looked, so that was kind of contestant number 1. So the second one is kind of a reveal of the tank. I shot it with as much fog as I could, and then I had my camera push in through the fog. And by the time I'd gotten to the tank, most of it had cleared away. So it kind of looks like you're walking through a foggy area, and then the fog's clearing away and you see the tank appear. The next one is real simple. You turn off your key light and your fill light, and all you have is a backlight, and you bring the fog in, and it just creates this really cool looking silhouette where there's just fog that you can see, and right in the middle of it is your object being outlined. It looks really cool. It's very mysterious. And then the final one, this one's the one I used for the logo. This one was actually the last idea I had, and I was actually about halfway through packing all my stuff up to be done before I kind of came up with this idea. So what you're gonna do is you're going to start with just the backlight on, or hit record, bring in the fog, and as you bring the camera back, you slowly turn on the key light. I had to try it quite a few times to get it right. If you have a friend working with you, that would make this shot way easier. If you have a slider, that would make this shot way easier. I had neither of those things, but I managed to pull it off with a lot of patience. So there's certainly things in this video that I would like to go more in depth on. So if you're interested in seeing any of that, you know how YouTube works and you know what buttons to push. If you don't want to see any more of these videos, then don't